What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, April 28th, 2020, almost to the end of the month here. And we've got a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And Mike is in our control room, twiddling our dials, keeping us out of trouble, and ready to answer the phone when you call on in, put you on the air with your comments, questions, observations, and opinions here. Okay, now, interestingly enough, we're starting to see this swell up, if you will, of a controversy regarding Tara Reade's accusation that a then Senator Joe Biden basically groped her inappropriately when she was working as a Senate staffer. And they're handling it wrong. They really are. This thing, I mean, when you consider how the accusations against Brett Kavanaugh evaporated, the ones against Trump evaporated, you know, they should have dealt with it forthrightly, said the accusations have been made. Then they could have said, we don't think anything really happened, and just let it fade before November. But instead, they're circling the wagons around Biden, and they're calling attention to the story. And I think what has really been their single biggest tactical mistake is the stealth removal of a clip from CNN's Larry King show, in which Tara's mother called into the show and said, what can my daughter do other than go to the press? Now, Reade first publicly shared her story in full last month, and now because Google Play removed that CNN clip, now it's a big story. They botched this one, and I don't know where the Democrats are getting their political strategies from, but they really blew it this time, because now they're going to ride this story into November. They really, really messed this one up. Now, speaking of Joe Biden, there was an interesting little article pointing out the fact that Jill Biden delivered Joe's 2020 campaign message. He just stood next to her blinking. And, of course, people are joking, is Jill Biden running for president? But it's very obvious that Joe Biden is deteriorating rapidly, and the Democrats are going to be riding him into November. So at this point, you know, barring the unforeseen and a massive amount of election fraud, Trump is going to win re-election. The Democrats were pinning their hopes on defeating Trump on a crashing economy, but Trump can blame the crashing economy on the coronavirus. And you can almost see the fear in the faces of certain Democrats like Nancy Pelosi when they realize they've gone down a wrong path. And of course, Nancy Pelosi, it reminds me of Monty Python's argument clinic. No matter what you say, she's going to say the opposite. No matter what Trump says, rather, she's going to say the opposite. Only it's not as funny as Monty Python was. All right, getting into coronavirus, a lot of people are starting to pay attention now to Dr. Fauci's $3.7 million National Institutes of Health grant to the Wuhan lab in 2015. And Rudy Giuliani is really digging at it because apparently such grants were prohibited in 2014, which raises the question, who granted the exception for the Wuhan lab to get this money? Was it, in fact, President Obama? People are going to be looking at that one going into the November election. Okay, there is a second Navy ship dealing with a major COVID outbreak, the USS Kidd. And the captain there is out there sending warnings to anyone who wants to capitalize on our perceived weakness. I guess the message that was sent by firing the commander of the Theodore Roosevelt went out there. You know, we're strong even when we're sick. There's been a new study shows COVID-19 spreads via aerosols in the breath from normal breathing. Everyone was worried about coughing and sneezing and yelling, but apparently the COVID-19 aerosols are carried across just from normal breathing. Now, maybe that's going to be the 6-foot limit. We know that the 6-foot limit is rather arbitrary. They just sort of came up with it as 2 arm lengths. We know from shows like mythbusters that a cough or a sneeze can send the aerosols considerably further distances. By the way, I think people really are getting tired of all of this stuff, because my wife and I were in our local supermarket the other day. We were the only people wearing masks. And I got to tell you, I felt downright silly about that, even though I decorate my masks with fangs and things like that. All righty. Top Bronx emergency room doctor calls for New York to end the lockdown because people are scared of coming to the hospital. They don't want to catch the coronavirus, and they're staying at home with things that should be treated in the hospital, like strokes and asthma attacks. Apparently, data shows Americans in 44 states are venturing out more often and rejecting social distancing measures. So the lockdown is already ending by default and without the permission of the government. It's a very soft form of rebellion, if you will. Now, one of the ways they can keep inflating the numbers and selling the fear is to expand the definition of what COVID-19 is and what it does. And the latest one there is that COVID-19 is causing strokes in younger people, young and middle-aged people. And apparently, hospitals have reported an uptick in emergency stroke patients in their 30s and 40s who also happen to have tested positive for the novel coronavirus. The median age for sufferers of the type of stroke seen in these patients being 74. And in another aspect of sort of rebranding COVID-19, apparently children are falling ill with a syndrome that is described as similar to severe COVID-19. Now, up until now, very few children have come down with the coronavirus, but now British general practitioners have warned of youngsters being hit by a mysterious virus-like syndrome that may be an offshoot of the virus or a new infectious pathogen. Boy, what a time we live in here. By the way, Trump's on the air right now saying that soon we'll be able to conduct 5 million coronavirus tests a day soon. I'll believe that when I see that one here. But meanwhile, getting on back to this inflammatory syndrome, children have died. At least a dozen have needed intensive care in Great Britain, according to Health Secretary Matt Hancock. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is out there with a new article claiming that a Pentagon study shows the flu shot raises the risk of coronavirus by 36%. Now, you think about that for a minute. The flu shot, which is supposed to protect you from the flu, increases your risk of coronavirus by 36%. And, of course, you've got people like Anderson Cooper and Dr. Sanjay Gupta out there saying, if you're concerned about coronavirus and you haven't gotten a flu shot, you should get the flu shot. It's only money after all here. But apparently, many of the peer-reviewed published studies prove that Anderson's recommendation may have been the worst advice he could have given the public. Now, you remember all those spy drones that were out there hovering over people and saying, maintain your social distance, citizen, thank you for your cooperation. Apparently, the public outcry on those was so great that police departments are starting to cancel those programs. People just did not react well at all to being spied on by drones and being ordered around by drones. It is, after all, a machine. I guess all the people watching Westworld are fed up with that. All right, we're going to take a phone call now. Jim in Illinois. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. You were talking about Biden, and you're saying that Trump will win. First of all, this is really sad and pathetic that America can't find a decent president. We have a pathetic individual in the White House right now, and Joe Biden, and I agree with you, he seems to be losing it. So what does this say about America? These are the only two guys we can find running for president or wanting to be president, two guys in their 70s. They both have sexually assaulted women. Trump seems to be losing it each day. He basically isolates himself and watches Fox News all day long besides eating McDonald's. And some of the comments, such as telling people to inject bleach, this guy has lost it. And Biden...
Okay, now, hang on a second. Let's have an accuracy check here. Trump did not tell people to inject bleach or anything like that. He merely posed a question of, would it be possible to disinfect people the way we disinfect our environment. And that has been mutated and spun out of context by, his opponents. But, let's put it back on track. He didn't suggest ingesting or injecting things like Clorox and Lysol. That was sort of made up for him.
I stand corrected, but the fact is, over the weekend, people were doing that, though. That's just it.
Well, that does say something about America.
Right. But again, I'm not happy with Biden, and I have never been happy with Trump. So again, what does it say about this country when we cannot find a decent leader or leaders out there?
I'm sure they're out there. They just can't get past that obstacle course that's put up by the billionaires and the moneyed interests and the war machine. It's
right.
Like trying to be president. You have to run a virtual gauntlet before you even get your name on a ballot.
This is very true.
Look what they did to Ron Paul. Look what they did to Tulsi Gabbard. I would have voted for Tulsi Gabbard. Even with her views on the Second Amendment. I like her views on ending the wars. Right.
But again, like you stated, you have to have a lot of money, and the big boys really have to sponsor you. Before I let you go, they're reporting today where Trump was given information regarding this virus. He has his daily briefings stated that, and he basically ignored it. And that's something that's really going to make him look bad, which doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I got that from you.
Say it again, please.
I said I got that from you, that it wouldn't bother you at all. That Trump
no, because I am not a fan. I am not a fan of Donald Trump. The guy is just embarrassing, and he's pathetic.
He's a disappointment. I'm very disappointed in him. The only, I'm not really going to support him going into the election unless Hillary throws herself somehow into the Democratic nomination, which is not entirely impossible given how rapid Joe Biden's deterioration is. I still think she's angling to be his vice presidential pick.
Nothing surprises me. But again, the one thing that bothers me about Biden, besides his personal issues, why did he say he has to put a woman as VP? I'm looking for a candidate, man or woman, not just a woman.
Well, he wants to capture the woman's vote. And, Trump was very popular with the women's vote in 2016. And yeah, it's like they've got this little card. There's the black vote, the women's vote, the gay vote, the pro-abortion vote, the anti-abortion vote, and they're tallying up what all these votes are going to be worth. And then they pick out the ones that they think will put them over the top, and that's what they build their platform on.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I will not be voting at all. I can't see myself voting for the evil person. Which one is more evil than the other? I probably won't be voting come November.
Well, I'm sure somebody will vote on your behalf.
Okay, then, Michael. You take care.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Jim. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, yeah, I've always learned that the way you spot a lie is that the new additions along the way, adding more to fuel to the fire here, using fear. So this whole thing with young people stroking now, having cerebrovascular accidents, or CVAs, stroking, with which it would indicate that there's a coagulopathy problem, a blood clotting problem, and that's not true. This is just more disinformation on coronavirus, that they're just trying to drum up more fear, and I expect they're going to do a heck of a lot more of the fear, lies, disinformation prior to rolling out that vaccine, but there's no truth. This is an absolute lie. Maybe somebody who did die, maybe they stroked, but there's some underlying health problems, and there was no coagulopathy problem, blood clotting problems with coronavirus. This is a respiratory virus. That's what it is, a respiratory pneumonia. And so we need to squash this, but I can see the lies. They add up. Every time I see something new added on, something new added on, something new added on, is because the fear factor is subsiding, it's decreasing. And they must keep that fear up. Like I said, the second wave, telling us the second wave was coming, is just buying more time for these people, the colluders, the people who've pulled this hoax on us, to buy more time to pad the numbers. That's all it's about, padding the numbers. Their goal is to reach the 2019 flu death total number there, or surpass that number And then they won't look so foolish because they just shut down the entire country over something that didn't even equal out to the regular flu. They're going to look very suspicious there. People are going to notice very fast that this was a scamdemic pulled on them if they don't reach some decent numbers. But I theorize, and I'll seriously think about this, I theorize that the number they already have, that the actual true number of coronavirus deaths is probably half of that number.
Yes.
Half of that number. It might be true. The rest of it's been padded. A doctor saying, I suspect it might be, is not the right thing to do, adding numbers to the death toll. And of course, let's not forget the hospital's incentive to say, yeah, sure, that's corona, because they're going to get paid a lot more on the diagnosis than they would the actual truth. So there's a financial incentive there by a hospital to say, yeah, that's corona.
And with all the non-essential services only just now coming back online, a lot of those hospitals really need the money.
Yeah. Well, they're getting a $75 billion bailout for lost income. I understood a couple days ago Trump has okayed that, along with bailing out the cruise industry. But
Yes.
a lot of these hospitals have these tents set out in the parking lot for the overflow because they were told to anticipate the issues. We're closing those tents. They're closing them up. In Central Florida, where I live here, we are taking those tents down. The numbers never came. They never came. They never showed up. So this thing was a total fraud, what they pulled out of here, a total fraud.
It's a repeat of the when pigs fly flu. It's the same story all over again.
Exactly. Well, that's it for me, Mike. I will talk to you soon.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Steve. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? I tend to agree absolutely with what Steve just said, that they're just trying to scare the what out of us. Though I do have some complaints of my own. I do have one side effect from all of this. That's my hands are cracking because I've been overdoing it with the washing my hands with too much soap, okay?
Yes.
Too much hot water. But anyway, what I wanted to say also is this. You may have more people coming down with different maladies now, because I've been watching these doctors, like these two dudes in California, Dr. Erickson, Dr. Messina. I've also been watching Dr. Shiva, and I've been watching Dr. Rashid Buttar. And on top of that, this lady that's also with Dr. Buttar, she's kind of a whistleblower on Fauci. She's not, and what I think you're maybe seeing is what they say, people locking themselves in their houses without going out. And I know there's a lot of people doing that. That's absolutely crazy. That goes against everything we know about the immune system. They're isolating themselves. They're not getting any sunlight. They're even being encouraged to stay in. I hear them think, oh, people need to go. If you go to the beach, you need to be punished, or some nonsense like that. Or you go to a park, you need to be punished. Or let's close the hiking paths down. I mean, this kind of stuff is crazy. And I don't think it's, by the way, I think this is being done by purpose, because I think the Gates, Fauci, globalist scum, they want us sick, they want us weak, and they want to scare us. So people I think people are coming down with maladies now. Matter of fact, I've heard these doctors now say that this might be the so-called second wave, because you're going to have so many people now, once they do start going out again, a lot of them might be not the healthiest people in the world anyway, maybe overweight, got other immune compromised problems, and that's going to even increase things. But also these masks aren't good for you. You're breathing. This is coming out from like Dr. Seuss. You're breathing out. Instead of breathing out, I think, the common carbon dioxide, you're breathing it right back in. You're hurting yourself. That helps so much,
Well, there was that driver who passed out from wearing a mask and crashed his car. Mark, stay on the line. We got to take a break for commercials. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsors. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Mark in North Carolina, and we're talking about ways to inflate the COVID-19 death numbers to increase the scare factor here. And what started as, an online joke, a meme, if you will, man eaten by shark declared dead of coronavirus. Jeffrey Epstein died of coronavirus. Now it's really happening. When there's a story that just got posted by one of the members at whatreallyhappened.com. Apparently, a guy was brought into the hospital in the middle of a massive drug overdose, and they put him down as having died of coronavirus.
Yeah, Mike. Another thing, too, is a lot of these people are now, I heard yesterday, Dr. Shiva was talking, a lot of people, of course, are taking these antipsychotic drugs and these, antidepressant drugs.
Yes.
And they're coming down, and their immune system is being compromised. Okay? And
yes.
Another thing, you talk about these kids in Britain. Remember, Britain doesn't have all that much sun in the first place. And if you look at British history, when they call British sailors limeys, or even the Brits themselves limeys, there's a reason behind that. I assume you probably know. British sailors were having a lot of problems getting scurvy and other diseases for lack of vitamin C. They didn't understand vitamin C, but they understood limes at the time, and the limes were curing this. And the British were using lime so much. So people got to understand it. And that might be what's happening in Britain now, too. Again, you can't lock yourself in your house. And especially when the sun is out. For crying out loud, that's the best virus killer there is. That's your natural vitamin D and D3. I catch buku sun these days. I always do. I love the sun. I love being out in the sun. I do protect my head. I got a boonie hat on, like one of these big camouflage hats. And even when I do lawn, which around here the grass grows so fast, you got to do that. I got about a half an acre here. I got to mow, and it's usually about 3-4 days. Every 3 or 4 days. So I wear my boonie hat. But it's great. You're out in the outdoors. You're getting exercise. Unfortunately, the gym is closed still here in North Carolina. I don't know how much longer, but I get as much exercise as I can with as much sunshine. And I urge everybody else that I know to do the same thing. I even do it on my YouTube videos. By the way, I'm thankful. I get a lot of Rivero Rangers as subscribers now on my YouTube video. Very happy about that.
And thanks to everybody who subscribed.
Yep, I sure do. And I don't get any money for it. I'm not asking for any money for it. I'm just doing it because I want to pass information out. I love this country. I love the people of this country. And not only that, and I just want, and I love real patriots, and I want the best for everybody. I don't want people curled up in a fetal position at home and waiting for the big bad virus to get them, okay? And giving in to the Gates and the Faucis and all that, who really want you sick. Many of them want you dead. They certainly want you sterilized. And that's what this whole thing comes down to. Why do you think they try to, like the two doctors, by the way, I keep on pushing that and pushing it on Facebook because I knew they were going to try to get them off. What do you think these two doctors are doing? These are patriots. They're telling the truth. People got to start understanding. They are telling you what this is about. The amount of people that are really dying from this are I hate to use the word minuscule. One person dies too much, but it's compared to the flu, it's about the same. Some cases less. So that's what it's all about, Mike. You gotta start waking up, and mainstream media does not mean any good for you. And by the way, a lot of the alternate media I'm getting tired of too, including the Faultline show that I used to love. They're on Sputnik TV, especially the former Breitbart reporter Lee Stranahan. The guy is totally submissive now to the mainstream media, and they're actually censoring their guests. A lot of great guests that they used to have on don't have anymore, like the Last American Vagabond, Patrick Henningsen, and others. So that's what's going on, Mike. And I just, and that's why I have my YouTube channel, of course, not to make money. They're not going to monetize me. I don't have any commercials on there. I keep them short because I know YouTube wouldn't have them on anyway. Okay, because they want, because they know they can't commercialize it. So that's it, Mike. I just want to say, and I'm thankful to the audience, people who do tune in. Okay, and please pass the information around. It's the best thing to do. We're citizen journalists today. That's what we all are. We pass information around because we're not getting it from the criminal corporate media, and that's the only way to do it. Pass that information around. All right, Mike, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Miles in Maine. Hello, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today? Oh, wait a minute.
Hello, Michael. Yeah, the one caller that, he's calling in about Trump, and you checked him pretty
Actually,
well.
Miles, I got to put you on hold. I wasn't watching the clock. Bad Michael, no cookie. Stay on the line. I'm going to come right back to you. And welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Miles in Maine, and Miles, just take it away.
Yeah, so, you get another one of these guys calling in, and I don't know why he doesn't like the Democratic Party, because he sounds like one, and he's about as erroneous as they are. So he makes this comment on Trump, and then he says Trump's out groping women and all this. I'd like to remind him Trump has won every single allegation, and when Trump has come back to either counter-sue or anything like that, they've dropped the case. So I don't know what this guy is talking about. And, if you want to vote for someone other than Trump, okay, I guess that's your choice. But Thomas Jefferson's not in this, and Andrew Jackson's not in it, and James Garfield's not in it, and John F. Kennedy's not in it. So this is what you got. And these delusional people that think a libertarian or third-party candidate is going to win, I mean, they can't even get on in all 50 states. I mean, what is the delusion with you people? If you're going to do something and you want to get another party going, first get on the ballot in 50 states and do it right. Don't come up with some pie-in-the-sky fantasy dream. We're going to elect this great third party, chieftain that's going to just make the country every which way we want it, because no matter who the guy is, you're still going to get 50% of the people that don't agree with him. So, Trump is what we got. He's the best we got. And in my opinion, I would rate him better than Ronald Reagan. And, let's face it, Trump has never got to be president yet. He's had 4 years of fighting with the Democrats, the Congress, the Senate, his party, the media, and the rest of the planet. So I'd like to see Trump once be his own guy if it were possible. But to sit here and say, well, I'm just not going to vote. Yeah, pardon me?
Which he can do in a second term.
Exactly. We can see what he can do in a second term. But this stuff about, and Trump has made some mistakes, but he's been so hamstringed and hogtied, it's just been unbelievable. But, inaction is also action, if you know what I'm saying, Michael. So when you don't go out here and vote, and Biden comes in, or Obama comes in, or whoever the hell comes in, Bernie Sanders or the Communist Party or whoever, don't blame that on Trump either. Blame it on you being so ignorant that you didn't get every single thing you wanted out of a guy like Trump that's being hamstringed at every turn. I mean, let the guy try, give him a chance. I think for what he's had to go through, I have never seen any political figure on this planet go through what he's had to go through. Thank you, Michael.
Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Joe in Houston. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I agree with that previous caller that no other president has been put through and had the entire establishment against him like Trump has. I mean, right from the start, they attempted a coup on him. Right from the start, the previous president attacked him and put stay-behind networks. There's never been anything like that, and I definitely agree that should be considered when it's time to vote. But I will not tell anybody that it's their fault if they don't vote. I mean, I had people tell me that when I refused to vote for Romney, and I'm glad I never voted for Romney. I wrote in Ron Paul, because Romney would have probably been worse than Obama. We probably would have been in a war with Iran with Romney. And so I won't go as far as he says about inaction being action. I have to disagree on that. But I do hope people do vote for Trump. I made it to Houston. I'm in quarantine. I just wanted to comment a little bit about like flying in the airplanes and stuff. I'd say most people didn't wear masks. I was surprised. I mean, I'm sure the two women up there in New Jersey will be all upset about that. Their callers there, but that was the way it was. And the airports were really, it was sad. I mean, all the businesses were shut down. There's a few places to eat, but it's really dystopic. It's kind of depressing. And hopefully, we can get this country back open and running again, because the damage that's being done is unbelievable. But part of the reason I wanted to call was because I wanted to talk about the meat plants closing down and what a disaster that was going to be, and how Trump should tell them to open, and if he has to, send the National Guard in there in hazmat suits. But he just did. Yeah, I just saw that. And I got to say, that's some good leadership on Trump's part, because that's the last thing he needs to be blamed for a meat shortage, because, everybody blames Trump. I mean, it's really incredible when you watch these press conferences. It really is incredible the way the vitriol the press has for him, the contempt. I mean, it's unbelievable what kind of disgraceful questions they ask the President of the United States, and it's really disgusting. I don't know, it's partially Trump's fault for not propagating the alternate media and giving them space and letting them ask questions. So in that respect, he kind of set himself up for this. But at the same time, I mean, these people have no freaking shame. They are going to be disgraced. And, it's like Biden, you see this vitriol for Trump from the media, and not a peep with this woman. This woman was digitally penetrated by Biden. It was her mother called the Larry King show. I mean, you talk about Kavanaugh and all these women lighting their hair on fire over Kavanaugh, and that was like spurious. This has got witnesses. She talked about it right away. I mean, everything that the Blasey Ford didn't do, this woman did. Yet, to believe everybody feminists are quiet. They don't say anything. And I'll tell you why. Because it's a female trait. And I hate, not all females, but women, if they like you, they'll let you. It's like having a favorite son or something. A woman, a mother, or if they like somebody, they'll overlook everything. But boy, if they don't like you, oh my God, every little thing. It doesn't matter. There's no consistency. There's no standard. It's just whether or not they like you or not, and it's really a disgrace. I mean, I got to laugh at them, but at the same time, they'll never be called about it. They'll never be held to account by it. But the people themselves have to just look at them and say, come on. Why should I ever listen to you again? You were out there saying all women have to be believed, no matter what. But not this. Not if it's Biden. Not if it's a Democrat. It's like that Coon man in Virginia, the governor of Virginia, with the blackface and the Klan robe. I mean, he still to this day hasn't told us which one he was, the Klansman or the blackface man. Now, like I said, once again, it's not about what people do in college. It's about the double standard. I mean, he's still governor of Virginia. I mean, and they don't even talk about it. I don't understand why Republicans don't make commercials, or anytime they ask or say Trump's a racist, say, well, you got a guy in blackface as governor of Virginia. And you want to call other Republicans racist? So it's just this. It's such a blatant double standard. It's almost comical. I guess that's the best word I'd have to use for it. And real quick, I just want to say that I thought Trump was brilliant today, because he said because of the coronavirus, he thinks he should pull troops out of Afghanistan. And I think that's a good idea. I mean, we might as well use this coronavirus for nationalist purposes. And a good nationalist purpose is to get the troops out of Afghanistan. And I'm hearing Trump mention things like that. Yeah, and I mean, I like what he's saying. He's saying, we can't even have enough money to fix a pothole in the United States, yet we're over there and still, 18 years later in Afghanistan. And so once again, it is a crisis. So I hope he does continue to use it for nationalistic purposes and to call out the deep state and the military-industrial complex, because this really does. Just saying that, like, well, why are our guys over there? Because blah blah blah. Anyway, well, thanks for letting me talk to you. I'll call you again from. I'm right here looking at the runway of the airport, and there's nothing coming in. It's unbelievable. Houston International, and there's not a plane on that runway. This has got to stop.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway.
People are getting tired of it. I'm not afraid of the COVID-19 virus anymore. I'm bored. I'm bored with the whole subject.
Well, what surprises me is this is Texas, it's a Republican state. I understand, like, with all the girls and stuff up there in New Jersey and places like that, and Massachusetts. I expect it in, like, lefty states. But, in Texas, I expected more things to be open and more people going about their business. But Houston is a lefty city. It's run by leftists, so I think they just got rid of the lesbian mayor and have somebody else now. So, that's what, and that's the one thing I like about this. I shouldn't say I like. The one thing to highlight through this crisis is the difference between lefty states and their whining cowards and the righty states that are more hardy and out and open. And I remember all my lefty friends from New York complaining about Florida and how they had the beaches open and everything. And now, like the caller said before, we've always known it. Mark said it's fresh air and sunshine. That's the best thing for you. And if you can get salt water on top of that and the beach sand and all that, you can't do better than that for your health. But all these little ninny pickers, they're all worried, they're scared to death. How are we going to ever, I hope we bring the troops home. I hope we, cut the Navy, because we can never win a war with a bunch of ninnies that we have in this country nowadays. So we better not get involved. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. I'll give you an update in a few days, but so far, good.
Thank you for the phone call, Joe. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day to you, Michael. Aloha. Yeah, Michael, the last four callers were excellent, especially Miles. I love when Miles calls in. I hope he calls in every day. Miles really hits it on target. Let's get back to the real serious matter here, Michael. That guy, Jim, the Blue State Blues, all these guys in these blue states have Blue State Blues. They're a bunch of whiner, ninny, I don't know, they're nincompoops. It seems to me with their Blue State Blues. I guess they realize that their vote doesn't matter, so they're gonna rag on Trump and this and that. Miles hit it right on the money. Let's get to the facts here, Michael. And by the way, they say Pepsi helps you with the coronavirus. So people take Pepsi or Tums. So I just heard that on the news. So what I want to talk about is this. It's insanity what's going on with this corona. And Steve Elkins hit it right on the money too. What we're seeing is this. You know what? I want to tell a lot of your Democratic blue state callers that call in. You realize that this whole thing is about money, and it's about taking Trump out because Trump spanked China, and China got a spanking for the first time, the bamboo curtain, and that's why they're going after Trump so hard, Michael, because Trump told them, hey, we're not gonna nanny-panny to you guys anymore, and you're not going to quit stealing our secrets and every other thing they Chinese red communists are doing, just like the Cubans, and it's like all these other commies in Korea and all that. These are communist Bolsheviks. What do you not understand about that? And as far as what some of your callers are saying, absolutely. Trump is doing the best he can. The whole media has been attacking this guy for 3 years. Trump has stood up like I've never seen any. Ronald Reagan had never been under attack like this. Trump has been attacked. It's unrelenting what they're doing to that guy. And you know what, Michael? I want every one of your listening guys in your audience, every one of them, I want to look at the video of what's going on in Los Angeles and what's going on with these MS-13 gang members in El Salvador and Honduras. Have you seen the videos, Michael, of the prisons over there?
Yep.
Would you like to share that with your audience, what's going on over there, so they understand? Maybe a lot of these guys don't listen or watch what's going on with these prisons in these countries, and even in Los Angeles with all these gangs. Now, I want to tell you, you tell me, anybody in your audience, that what president has done more to stop this illegal herd. Of course, it's not being done like a shooting. I know one guy's going to call in right now after and say, well, you know what? He at least brought it out to the forefront in the media that, hey, look, we can't have all these legals and illegal people keep coming in here. So let's look at the fact China is not our friend. They're our enemy, okay? The red Chinese, look, you have abortion clinics still open, but you have churches closed down, okay?
Yes.
You have, let me tell you something, Michael. I just talked to my cousin, Carolina. He's making more money with his liquor store than he's ever made in his life.
Yes.
His liquor store's off the chart. He's making so much money, it's insanity what he's telling me. I'm like, I got to get me a liquor store. I mean, these liquor stores are off the charts right now. They're so happy. And by the way, so everybody in your audience understands, that one guy, Jim, hey, Jim, we have only had one murder in South Florida in the last 8 weeks. It was in the Miami Herald Fort Lauderdale Sentinel today. One murder in an 8-week period. Go figure. Now, what about Chicago, Michael? How many murders have they had in Illinois? And by the way, that one guy that called, yeah, They've had multiple, 40, 50 murders since this coronavirus. The guy, by the way, the guy, Jim, most of those people in Chicago and Illinois, the whites are fleeing. Pretty soon that state will be all minority because all the people who are in the majority in that state are fleeing like in droves. They're going to Arizona, they're going to Carolinas, Florida. They're fleeing, just like in Jersey and New York. They're fleeing those states. They're overtaxed to death, and all we hear is about how bad Trump is. Well, listen, Trump has done more than I can recall than any president in the United States history since I've been born. And that's been a long, long time ago. And you know what? Reagan was good, but he was no Donald Trump when it comes to a lot of things. I can tell you that. No way. Now, nobody in the media for this left-controlled media, leftist communist Bolshevik-controlled media, has ever talked about immigration like Trump brought it out to the forefront when he came off that escalator that day.
Yes.
Jim? Nobody. Nobody's ever brought out the fact how many gang members we have here. Did you ever hear about angel mothers and fathers? 5,874 murders in a 3-year period? Let's get to the real fact with the figures with the FBI. How many crimes have been committed by illegal aliens? How many crimes have been committed since coronavirus stepped in? We're not hearing that, but we're hearing about how bad Trump is doing and this and that. And you got a bumbling moron, Biden, who had supposedly attacked a woman that the media is shutting up about. If it was Trump or any other Republican, it'd be all over the news for 24 hours a day. They don't even worry about coronavirus. They'd be talking about the raping of a woman by Trump. Well, since it's Joe Biden, nothing's happening. And the same guy saying he wants you to touch his hairy legs. And,
with Joe Biden, there's videotapes. I was going to say with Biden, there's videotapes throughout the years of him inappropriately touching young girls. It's on video.
Absolutely.
How he behaves.
Absolutely. And absolutely. But you have all these guys calling and you know what? Every guy, you call the guy that bashes Trump is one of these blue states. I have yet to hear a guy in a red state to bash Trump. But all these guys in these blue states that call on your show, oh man, they're always putting Trump down. But you know what? Keep paying those high taxes until you have to flee your state. Even in those states right now, they're still paying a high gas price compared to the red states. They're paying a very high gas price compared to what they would be paying in a red state. So you know what, Michael? A lot of this is nonsense. And I'll tell you, if I ever do get a radio show, hopefully one day I will, if I ever come across some big jack, I'll tell you what, I want Miles to call my show every day. And a lot of other your guys that call in because they're really excellent. But I got to tell you, what's going on with this every day bashing Trump with the media and all you callers? What do they want this guy to do? I mean, seriously, and the whole thing is about the Chinese, and it's about money. And the Chinese want to take Trump down. They're with the Democratic Party. They're Bolsheviks just like the Democratic Party. And they want to take Trump out, Michael. That's all there is to it. They want it. Listen, Michael, one more thing. Can I hang on?
Yeah, hang on. I'll bring you back after these words from our sponsors. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Tom in Florida. And Tom, you said you had one more thing you wanted to share with us.
Yes, Michael. To the Blue State Bluers that call in your show. You know what, Michael? This is, I was on the radio yesterday. This is the whole thing is about, they're trying to stop Trump to have his rallies before the election. And Biden only gets 200 to 300 people in his rally. And they know Trump gets 25,000. So the media and everybody's, they're loving this. They don't want Trump to be throwing these rallies, so these people all over the United States. Because remember, Biden was maybe getting 200-300 maximum. Trump's getting 25,000 to 30,000 people at his rallies or more. And you don't think that's not a big thing to see on TV during the month of September and October when Trump's got thousands at his rally? You know how many people are going to show up for Joe Biden's rally? And he's going to probably pick that woman, Stacey Abrams, or one of those types, a Stacey Abrams type. And you got all these callers that call in. Is that what they want? They want a 98-year-old brain with one of these leftist freak shows like a Stacey Abrams or a Kamala Harris? Is that what they want? Is this what these callers are calling your show saying, oh, Trump doing that? What's your alternative? And, Donald Trump is giving 30,000. And I'll tell you, the Chinese are behind this, too. You think the Chinese that know how bad Trump is against them, they want a guy that's having a rally with 30,000, 40,000 people at his rallies, and you're going to have a bumbling buffoonery like Biden, a bumbling moron like Biden with 300 people at his rallies? And then he's going to have, Stacey Abrams or Kamala or one of those types as his running mate? Seriously, Michael, let's look at this big picture here. And the leftist communist media, they'll do anything to take Trump out of power now because it's like I tell your show all the time. It's the two main things, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the Supreme Court and mainly about immigration. They want to keep flooding the United States with illegal immigration and illegal immigration, taking away jobs from Americans. And I don't want to hear this crap that Americans won't do these jobs in agriculture. That's a lie. Just like in England, they had a survey where the English say, we'll do the jobs, just pay us halfway decent wage. So they're bringing all these people into Europe. That what crops do they have in England or Europe to do? What do they do? What kind of agriculture stuff are they doing in England? Tobacco or something? I don't know. But here in the United States, we got machines doing a lot of the work, and we don't need 30, 40 million illegals in here doing what? Cutting grass? They surely ain't doing, they ain't working in beauty salons doing hairdos. Or are they? I don't know. But I can tell you, what's going on is all this whole thing with this coronavirus, and I'm going to start calling a hoax. It was going after Trump. And by the way, Michael, did you see the latest with the new dogs? Now they're saying dogs can get the coronavirus. Was this on the breaking on the news?
I saw that.
Yeah, that's good news. And now they say you can, cats, people don't get around cats too much, but I guess they want you to stay 6 feet away from your dog now. Oh, my goodness. This is unbelievable. You know what? It's all about Trump and his rallies in the Supreme Court. And that's why they're throwing the kitchen sink at Trump. And that's what I want everybody to understand. And these blue state bluer callers, listen, more than likely, if you had the money, you'd get out of the state you're in. Guaranteed. Because it's all nonsense. And you know what? Where the best alternative you have is Trump. If you want a demon rat, go be my guest and vote for it. You're going to wish you didn't get what you have voted for. Believe me. And that's what the problem is. And it's all about getting my education and understanding the history of the United States. Great free republic that it is. Thank you, Michael.
Tom, I got to let you go here. We're at the end of the first hour. We're going to be back with hour number 2 after these few words. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are actually full right now. So let's go to Ed in Utah. Ed, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike. And Mike, I'm very happy. It seems that you're making medical-wise your own recovery, it sounds like.
Yes, so it's clear.
Very good. All right. Yes, both of you. Listen, I've got quite a bit to say here, and I'll keep it as short as I can. I agree with Tom in Florida. Always great to hear him. I'm still though. We need to get Trump in a second term. Then we can all judge him. I don't think he's going to sell us out. He has to sell out somebody, and I want him to sell out. Of course, it's going to have to be his own daughter and Kushner and that whole crowd there, the internationalists. But that fight in that day. This coronavirus, more and more, Mike, this is the Mac Daddy. Yes. They keep saying when we come out on the other side of this. No, they have no intention for us. We can come out properly if we take it. It might have to come down to some head bashing on the street. I regret to say that. Locally today, he was a little late in coming on the scene. I made a comment to John Stadmiller, but Sheriff Richard Mack was on local K-Talk radio where he used to have a show here, and he was on Stadmiller's show a week and a half ago. And that's good, because this opening will be just as dangerous politically and for our country, Mike, in my view, as what it was when they came down with this Operation COVID-19 to smash the rights of the American people and the Bill of Rights. They attempted to go after the Second Amendment. They were beat back. They've tried other things, but if they can control the narrative and the actual on the ground by saying, oh, you can open your barber shop, but social distancing. Let me just say this. Social distancing is evil. It is a construct of the devil. It is going to pit grandchildren against their grandparents. It is a psychological evil war to the worst areas that you can imagine in the back of your mind. That's exactly what they are doing right now. And they're giggling behind the scenes because they've had some success. More and more, though, thankfully, the pushback is happening. And like you said earlier, people are just starting to ignore it. I'd like to see businesses just open up and make them have their second move, especially now with more and more sheriffs, like up in Washington State over here, that are just not going to enforce what some tyrant governor says. And to that end, Donald Trump, no, he doesn't understand a lot of things, but he has a good sense, and that's what's maybe helping us along here. He does have to dump Fauci at some point here, the horrible human being that he's on stage with. But I understand why he's there. I understand this is the work of internationalist Mike Pence, and I'm with John Stadmiller that he should get a different running mate, maybe in October, Mike. But kind of my summary with all of this is, yeah, this is it. They have come after in psychological warfare with social distancing and all this. I mean, right to the heart of the humanity they're hitting. But there's opportunity in that we can show people the evil of, like, that governor in Kentucky, Bashir, who just had hate in his heart, and he was pointing out at Christians that showed up at church. He had to be forced to back down by a judge. They've exposed themselves, Mike, here. So has Fauci for his criminal medical past. And I like Stadmiller. I want to see Fauci, Gates, and a few others, their heads on a stick. This is going to have to come down to bloodshed at some point. There's no easy way out of this. We're too far gone. And I do think Trump is our best bet with all of this. However, the Constitution is first. There's no way I'm going to stand by. I don't want to live in a world like that, Mike, where they can just tell me to stand 6 foot back of the grocer and have all these Red Guard social justice warriors, Red Guard on steroids, telling what to do or wear a mask or whatever. They can go take a long walk off a short pier. It is time to stand up to these small and big tyrants. Disobedience to tyrants is obedience to God. I haven't heard that repertoire lately. So many, like the Oath Keepers, they have shown their real colors, by the way, basically begging the governors for martial law. And lastly, and I'll let you go, Mike, I've had a lot, like I said here, they keep talking states' rights. No, they really don't, because they just want these governors with backdoor conversations, basically orders from Fauci and Scarf Lady Burks, and then they come out and announce what they're going to do. And they tailor it to the state they're in. If it's more conservative, whatever. That's why you see Indiana operate one way, Utah another, etc., with a few gutsy governors like South Dakota here and there. States' rights would mean state legislatures, Mike. That way we could have hearings at the local level with doctors pushing back on that criminal fraud, Fauci, and pushing back and taking the pressure off of Trump, kind of being forced to stand up there with no presidential seal on the podium with the live exercise, and you know what I'm talking about there.
Yes.
Thank you for the airtime. Mike, do you have anything to say to my general thrust here?
Well, I really have dedicated a large portion of the past 25, 30 years that I've been doing this to the proposition that we can reform the republic without bloodshed. But I understand from your point of view, I'm hearing it from a lot of people that they're thinking the time to push back hard is now. And I don't like it, but I understand it.
Well, thank you. And again, I think this is why the network is doing a lot of work with Mr. Stuttlefield in a neighboring state to me in Nevada. That time has come. That time has come. And with that kind of training and what have you, and with the circumstance we're in, and it's not that I want to lead any charge or even be behind a charge against a guard unit or anything like that, Mike. It's like I said, I don't want to live in a world that Fauci and Gates and Soros and those putrid tyrants, what they have in mind for us, because the worst memories and images of the Bolsheviks is here. This is Bolshevism run amok, and it's right here in River City.
Okay, well, thank you for the phone call, Ed. We're going to let you go and switch over to Nathan in Northern California. Nathan, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hi, hi Mike. Just a quick COVID-19 story. Around March 4th, I decided that I was going to hitch a ride with this senior service ride service to another town to go to a doctor appointment. And so, and this is basically a service for everybody. So what happened is this lady pulls up, picks me up, drives down the street, makes a right, and picks up this other guy, and he gets on the van, and he sits right behind the driver, and he's coughing his brains out. And I'm just like, oh man, why in the world didn't I just drive, a half an hour over to this town and go to this dermatologist, and not deal with this kind of nonsense. And so the lady asked him, he said, have you been to China? And he said, no, it's a smoker's cough. And so he's coughing his brains out. No handkerchief, no Kleenex, no paper towels, no nothing. A half an hour all the way over to this other town. And then on the way back, he sits in the front seat next to the driver, and he's coughing his brains out, like every 1 to 5 minutes. And I'll be darned, 3 or 4 days later, I got the cough, and it was pretty bad for 2 days, and I had a little bit of a fever, and little woozy, and a little bit of the chills. But I got over it. It wasn't the end of the world. I used a little mouthwash, a little hydrogen peroxide, and 3 days later I was fine. It felt a little weak for about a week, and then I was okay. But this idiot getting on this band, saying he's got a smoker's cough, I'm just like, my God, you stupid idiot. So anyway, that's my COVID-19 story. It's not the end of the world for everybody if you catch it. You can recover, and you're going to be just fine. So,
well, I'm glad you're fine.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. And I just wanted to touch on a couple of quick points. This is a very quick story. I just wanted to tell you, when I was 49 years old, okay, I had my own business, okay? I had success on my mind 24/7. All I wanted to do was be successful, and I was working 5, 6, 7 days a week, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. I didn't have time to call into a radio show and bash Bill Clinton. I just didn't have time. And it worked out okay. My house is paid for. My cars are paid for. I don't have credit card debt. And I don't need a stupid stimulus check, So the point is why in the world are you talking to 49-year-old Dustin, who's playing video games, living with his mother in New Jersey, calling into your show in the afternoon? Get off the radio, Dustin, and get to work. You sound like a loser. And Mike, you're disappointed in Trump. Well, I'm disappointed in you. You're 67, 68 years old. You're renting a shack in Indiana, and you're talking to these losers, Jim, Peter, Paul, Mark, Dustin. What is wrong with you? These negative callers are going to kill you, and I predict in 2 years you're going to be dead if you keep listening to these stupid people.
Well, I guess time will solve that mystery.
Time will solve that mystery.
Each of us defines success differently.
In a different way, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm successful at what I'm trying to do, which is educate the public. And you may not agree with that.
But you're not in drive time. Your show is not in drive time. Really successful, driven people are not listening to your show. If you're on drive time, yes, but the majority of successful people are grinding it out 7 days a week in some cases. I didn't have time to listen to a radio show back in those days. God almighty.
Well, then what you're telling me here is these people won't be listening to my show even if it was in drive time.
Well, I don't know. If you had a drive time show, you'd certainly have a better audience. That's for sure.
Well, that's true, but it's not really up to me, unfortunately.
Okay, Mike. Well, anyway, that's my 2 cents. And
well, I'm glad you got over the virus quickly. I'm really.
Oh, I did. And just for your listeners' sake, if you do catch COVID-19, don't worry. It's probably not the end of the world. I had it 2-3 days. I was a bit uncomfortable, and now I'm fine. If you do get worse than that, get to a doctor, take hydroxychloroquine and zinc and the antibiotic, and hopefully you'll be okay. Dr. Solenko has been doing some very good work in this area, and I commend him for his just all of this stuff. It's just terrific. And if you haven't seen Dr. Zelensko, go to Dr. Corsi's channel on YouTube, and there's all kinds of stuff.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch to Paul in New Jersey. Paul, thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind?
Well, Michael, I'm hearing a lot of blue state bashing going on from some of your red state callers, and I'm fine with that. But I hope you'll be kind enough to let me reply, okay?
Please do.
Okay, for one, I would say the reason New York and New Jersey take the coronavirus seriously, fellas out there, it's pretty easy. It's because we're a huge transportation hub and host international airports. Also, we have high population density, and population density provides a vector for the transmission of an airborne virus. Okay, that's why. And as what comes out of Johns Hopkins, we have the highest mortalities in the nation. So there you go. So we take it serious. Okay. Now I want to say some things about New York. You know, people. It's kind of like in Italy, and I like to compare Italy and Africa. People come to Italy to see the beautiful buildings the Italians erected.
Yes.
They visit Africa to see the wildlife. So now people go to New York to see the buildings that the New Yorkers erected. People visit Florida for the weather. In other words, the Floridians haven't really, in my opinion, done that much. So, in my opinion, Tom, just keep sending the oranges, all right? Send us the oranges and take our money, okay? Because the blue states are the rich states. We're the ones, New Jersey primarily is the number one on the top of the list with Connecticut for putting money into the federal till, and New Jersey gets the least amount of money back from it, all right? So that might make us a lot of suckers, but that puts New Jerseyans in a position to say we're better Americans than you tax-mooching red state parasites who are sucking off the blue states.
Whoa,
you know, if the blue states decide, hey, let's not be so magnanimous to these red states, there never would have been the international highways erected because of the largesse and the wealth of the blue states. You would have been, there'd be just backwaters. You wouldn't even have roads. You wouldn't even have electrification. Who did the electrification? A rural electrification. Oh, that was the blue stater. Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was a New Yorker. Oh, here's another one for you, Tom. Right? Because all you southern red staters need to get on your knees, and you should kiss the buttocks of a statue of a New Yorker. Because without that New Yorker, you'd be sweating in your malarial swamp. And that New Yorker is named Willis Haviland Carrier, the inventor of air conditioning. And without that man's invention, you'd be sweating. You wouldn't probably even be living in the South. The South would be depopulated. So the only reason people live in the South and in Arizona and the Southwest is because of the genius of a New Yorker. All right? So these guys got to stop it. And lastly, look at the idiocy of these red state retards, Michael. Right? Listen to these guys. Who is the one leading them by the nose? They're so stupid. Who's that guy that they're in the cult of who? They're in the cult of Donald Trump. Who's from where? Oh, that's right. You're led by a New Yorker, red state retards. He's the guy pulling you around by the nose. He's the guy that is tricking you and making you blame the coronavirus all on Donald Trump's appointees. Because remember, Michael, who appointed these people in the Department of Homeland Security? Who appointed the Surgeon General Adams, who appointed Redfield of HHS, right? Who appointed all these people? Oh, that's right, Donald Trump. So now here it is, Donald Trump, the 4G genius, right? Or is he a dope, getting tricked by the doctors and doing everything the doctors tell him to do, like the dummy he is? And as for one last thing for Tom, I want the immigration stopped. Donald Trump's been in there for 3 years. How come it didn't happen? It's because he's a failure. And at least I have the common sense to distance myself to an employee I hired who doesn't deliver, right? I don't go making a cult out of the guy I elected. If the guy I hire for the job doesn't deliver, I fire him. And that's why I'm going to fire him. And I'm not going to vote for Biden. I'm going to vote for somebody like Jesse Ventura next year.
Yes, he's running. He's throwing his hat in the ring.
So I'm not a dupe who makes a cult out of my president who doesn't deliver to you and only delivers to Jared Kushner and the Israelis. I'm not a sucker like these red state retards are.
Okay, well, Paul, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm going to have to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. More phone calls when we come back from the Welcome back to our show here, and a reminder that Republic Broadcasting is holding a fundraiser. We need your help to stay on the air. The postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. And in defense of Floridians, I would like to point out that rather nice national spaceport they have down there. There's more to Florida than just oranges. Let's go back to the phones to Keith Rogers. Keith, thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind today?
Well, I got several things for you, Mike. One, it sounds like I just got home from in the 70s there and was listening to Dark Shadows.
Yes.
Hey,
that was pretty intense there, that call.
You know, yeah, I tell you. Well, the whole half hour has been. But anyway, hey, I got a curious question for you, Mike. Do you know how this so-called coronavirus is actually the COVID-2? And this has been documented by many different virologists there, but Tom had called in from Utah and was talking about a medium that's used to be able to, and I don't know how to phrase this because I'm not in that field or anything like that, but when the swine flu jumps from, say, pigs to man, I don't know how that happens or anything like that. I don't know if you do. Question.
Generally, what happens is you'll have a hybrid of the virus that blends, with another one so that they both have attachment points for both pigs and human beings, or in the case of the 2009 flu, birds as well. That was a really odd construct. We actually found documentation that CDC was experimenting with creating these things in a laboratory, but it all comes down to those protein attachment points and whether they'll fit into the receptor sites on the healthy cells of the patient, if you will.
Right, and we've heard through time that like heart valves made from pigs and stuff like that because of genetics and all that. But anyway, what gets me is I'm still hooked on this conspiracy that I came up with that webpage. I don't know if you read it or not, but in early 2018, China suffered a massive African swine flu, and they culled over 900,000 some odd pigs.
Yes.
In which, and listening to Tulsi Gabbard talking to Jimmy Dore, where she was berating this big, huge Brazilian meat company down there that has leveled thousands of hectares of trees and burned off the Amazon forest and blah, 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 It belongs to JBS US Meats. Now you can watch the video of the massive graves down in São Paulo, Brazil, using massive bulldozers, burying the dead. And JBS Meat sells to who? Tyson. Tyson is closing down factories all over the place. And JBS Meat increased its production 600% over to China. So is there a link? Then, on the other side of this, Western Journal has a story out that the feds were buying cats from Chinese wet markets to fed them to American cats for research. And in lieu of that, with the last story here, that was a conspiracy. I'll send you that page. I got about 7 more updates to put onto it. But anyway, the squad now is proposing a bit. Yeah, it's got the videos and everything like that on there. The squad is now proposing a bill allowing the feds to literally cancel property rights during this pandemic. So, but anyway, yeah, the more I look into this so-called coronavirus, which has seemed to be manipulating everything, and of course, I follow trends. I don't give a crap what people say or anything like that, except when they start talking. Namely, when your politicians are wanting to blame China, when the internet fills up with China will pay, and now Lindsey Graham last night says they're going to start seizing China's trillions in the stock markets and stuff like that, This, of course, is to bail out the U.S. economy and to blame, China for something like that.
Yes.
But remember, last February when they started posting that 7 million car owners were 3 months behind in their payments, the economy was going to hell, They needed a scapegoat. And this is the same thing they did down through South America. They start demonizing, like Maduro, he's a drug kingpin, a narco, The same thing in Panama. Well, they went into Panama, and of course it solved America's drug problem, didn't it? But, this is how this is how those in the deep state work it. They sit there and they get Americans like your callers right now that are sitting there with tooth and nail at each other to divide and conquer, and then point the finger at someone else, whether it's Saddam or Gaddafi or Assad, demonizing these people constantly. And you're supposed to forget the Afghan papers where your boys slaughtered 100,000 civilians in Afghanistan. Forget the million in Iraq. Forget the 300,000 in Syria. Forget the 50,000. Those deaths don't count because they were done by our boys.
Okay, Keith, I need to put you on hold.
Thanks for the call, Mike. No, I'll go ahead and go, Mike. You take care, okay?
All right, fine. Back with more phone calls after these words from our sponsors. And welcome back to our show here. And apparently Tara Reid is very upset that Hillary Rodham Clinton has endorsed Joe Biden and accuses Hillary of endorsing or enabling a sexual predator. I'm telling you, Hillary is trying to become his vice presidential pick. All right, let's go back to the phones here to Jim in Montana. Jim, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? Hey, I just want to say, Tom, I believe from Florida, or
yes,
whoever it was. Yeah, I 100% support him. From all the research I've been doing and all this, mine is right on point with his. I 100% support what he's saying. I'm not quite as articulate as he is, but I am pretty smart with my research and whatnot, and I try to be, I try to go into it with a glass empty, so I'm not being too biased one way or the other. And my research is right on point with his. It really is. If I feel like I don't want to start bashing one another, and start dividing each other. That's what they want. But I feel at this point, if you're intelligent enough and you've been doing the research and whatever, and you're still pushing the the whole narrative, this thing, this whole thing is real, and that it's, I guess, like with Dustin and kind of Paul too, but Dustin, I suspected for a little while, and now that he's not seeing the big picture, and he's not, because he's really good with his reach and whatever, and the fact that he can call in every day and be as well informed in the kind of time that he has. My mom was involved with a certain person who came up with a great discovery, invention, if you will, on some stuff that was helping cure people with tumors and cancers and hepatitis C and all that stuff. And it was all going great. And then all of a sudden, they had a bunch of people coming on the website and whatnot, and they're just actually tearing it apart. I don't want to mention names because I don't want to reveal myself too much, but they had a computer super tech whiz track these people down, and they were all coming from pharmaceutical centers.
Yes.
Every one of them. And so, so Dustin is, I've suspected him for a while, but but, let's not divide each other and whatnot. But, I was watching a Pluto app that I have. It's like TV, cable network shows and satellite network shows and stuff comprised together on America First, who's, they're strong Trump supporters or whatever. But this lady was talking about, how this COVID-19 thing, it doesn't make sense at all. And how a lot of them actually are, they're saying has COVID-19. It's the flu, And I'm not saying this corona is not real. It was, but it's a bunch of BS. But this lady got just cut right off. As she was saying this, just cut right off, and then they went right to something else. The reason that Trump is having trouble getting the immigration thing done completely and everything is because of the Democrats fighting him so hard and making it so difficult for him to get that done. I'm not trying to bash blue states. We're all in this together, but those like New York City and those highly dense populations and stuff, they are completely dependent on the government and corporation and everything, bringing food and everything like that. Up here in Montana, if we get cut off, a country boy can't survive. I tell you what, we ain't gonna starve to death. You guys, you cut off. You know what I'm saying? You know how to trap. You know how to hunt. Some of you do, but I guess I guarantee the majority of you don't. But you guys are. They're very highly intelligent people too. So are we. Let's not start dividing each other. I guess that's pretty much it. But I don't sound quite as intelligent as some of these guys because over the years I've been having trouble. Like my speech is starting to been gapping, and there's been some issues there. I was a lot more flow. I had a lot more articulation in my speech and stuff.
Okay.
When I was younger, but I don't know what's going on. But anyway, to try to sum it up, I'm going to go ahead and finish. But Tom, I have come up with a really good plan on how to take over Congress in a very in a constitutional and legal and democratic way. There's just a one hitch that I'm working on. I don't know if you're interested in getting with me and maybe working on something, or you need support in any way or anything like that. I'm going to call. I meant to do it when I called the first before the show, but I'm going to call back and give the man that's handling the phone calls my phone number. And if you need anything, you need support or whatever, get in touch with him and get my phone number and give me a call if you need. All right. Hey, thanks, Michael. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for the platform. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the phone call. Thanks for the support. And we're going to switch over to Ken in Nebraska. Hello, Ken. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How you doing today?
Doing fine.
What was that breaking news that you started off with the last segment? Tara Reid breaking news. What was it?
Okay, it was basically Hillary Rodham Clinton has now endorsed Joe Biden for president, and Tara Reid is upset about that, saying that Hillary Clinton is enabling a sexual predator, but then she did that for most of her married life.
Man, what is crazy? What are they doing in these politics these days,
It's a circus.
Crazy. Yeah, I know, right? And then, Mike, you know that all the callers that are calling in, they're all shills, right?
Most of them, yes.
They're using your show to just lead up airtime, just to talk nonsense. You know that, right?
Well, I know that,
A
but
lot of them are
I'm trying to balance between the two so that everybody listening sort of gets both points of view and they can make up their own mind about what's going on. I mean, the fact that you recognize their shills, to me, that's a positive sign.
Mike, you know they're trolling you, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then did Dustin call in from New Jersey
Not yet.
today?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. I hope he's okay.
I'm going to put his face on a milk carton.
I know, right? And then it's like, because he's not going to die from the virus. He's going to die from a stroke. Like, but guess what's going to happen, Mike? They're going to market it. They're going to mark him as COVID-19 and just add another checklist to it to get the numbers right. You know that, right?
Yes.
That would be terrible. But I don't know. I just like the reason why all these people call in. Why do you think all these people are calling in all the time? Like just trying to like bleed airtime and just I don't know. And a lot of them,
we're going to be establishing some new phone policies here in the very near future. We're just trying to work out the details.
Yeah, and then because it's funny, at the end of the day, they always call in and they push the left-right paradigm. It's like, you know, they might talk a good game, but then at the end of the day, they have their agenda. They're like, well, make sure you go and vote for Joe Biden or don't vote against Joe Biden. What's the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump? Or could you imagine, like,
Donald Trump still has most of his marbles.
Inject Lysol, right, Mike?
Yeah. Well, he didn't actually say that. Remember, he did not actually say that.
I watched the video. He said inject disinfectants and then said he was being sarcastic. Trust Mike, that's what it's the cognitive dissonance that's going on with these people. It's terrible. Like you could show somebody a video and like this is exactly what he said. Well, he didn't say that. Oh, well, they're trying. It was the left wing media. No, it's the right wing media. It's all a scam. They always push this left right paradigm nonsense. So, you know, but like I don't agree with the national hate against Dustin because everybody right now is hating on Dustin pretty bad, man. That's not right, you know, because it's like, you know, the chosen few, they were kicked out of so many countries throughout the years. It can't always be everybody else, right?
True. True enough.
But,
anything else, Ken?
All right. Now, I want to talk about, I want to talk about face masks, too. Is it mandatory in your area yet, Mike?
It's not mandatory, but it's definitely encouraged as a guideline. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, my wife and I went to the local supermarket over the weekend. We were the only two people wearing masks.
Yeah, well, they're making it now that you can't go into the grocery store without wearing one.
In Indiana?
Is that what region? Oh, that's another question I was going to ask you. What FEMA region are you living in?
I have no idea. I'm living in the state of Indiana.
Well, look it up on the map. There's FEMA regions. They broke it down. They broke it down into
10 of them. And
yeah,
I know it's
and we used to always joke about it over the years.
Oh, that's it. I'm in FEMA Region 4.
FEMA Region 4. It'd be like, which region are you? And it's funny because it's you remember that movie Red Dawn? They'd be like, the chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. Do you know what the response was?
Enlighten me.
John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache.
All right, Ken. Well, thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. And for the remainder of the show, we're going to suspend the one call per caller per day rule. And I'm saying that because Tom called back in and then he dropped off. And we've got two other people who want to respond to earlier calls. And I don't want to get a fist fight going or anything, but we're going to go to Miles in Maine. And Miles, you had a response about the Civil War.
Yeah, Michael, I never call in twice, but I just had to. And I had to laugh at Paul from the Looney Left. And I used to think Paul had, he does have some good points, but his indoctrination is so complete, it's just unbelievable when I hear him now. And I guess that's why John Statmiller don't want him calling in. But yeah, he's talking about, how can he forget with all his vast knowledge that the entire Civil War was fought because of the taxation of the South to support the North's drastic and wasteful spending, like it's still going on. I'd also like to remind him how in the 80s, the mid-80s, the 90s, nobody could get a road built because all the money was dedicated to the Eastern Seaboard to rebuild their roads because it was supposed to be so vital. And what have they given us? They've given us absolutely nothing. You know, the South if he had any idea we're talking about food shortages, does he have any idea how much food, hogs, beef, pork, agriculture, vegetables, everything that the South puts out? They have 2 growing seasons. So when I hear Paul talk this nonsense, and Tom is awesome. Tom is very aware. Tom hits these sites. He does his homework. And very rarely, Tom makes a mistake here and there like everybody else, but 99% of the time, he's right on the money, and he does his research, and he covers the bases on this stuff. And I just think it's a little bit disingenuous for Paul to come on here, comment like that, take cheap shots at people, call people names, and he's the guy that's still paranoid over the coronavirus, although he can't quite figure out how the numbers are coming up with it, but the numbers are all showing that it's a hoax.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll let you go. I hope Tom calls back, and go ahead and comment about the Civil War, Mike. I'd be interested to get your opinion.
Well, you're absolutely right. The Civil War was really about economics. Lincoln used the issue of slavery to sell it to ordinary people who were not going to send their kids off to die on a battlefield over the issue of money. And, we could be looking at another one if we keep up this red versus blue state nonsense. Anyway, thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go and switch over to Dan in Texas. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Okay, we lost Dan, so let's go to W in Texas. Hello, W. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I think you could start a pay-per-view with your show now with all the, battles going on. So you might want to think about that. But the second part is about just the food supply and all these meat companies having to, get rid of their meat, and then the farmers having to get rid of their vegetables. It seems pretty menacing and kind of scary that's happening. So there's that comment. And then what's your opinion on what Trump was saying about the disinfectant? What do you think about that? And
he used the word disinfectant. He didn't use the word Lysol. He didn't use the word Clorox. He didn't use the word bleach. I want to step back, though, because we're hearing all this talk about the collapse of the food chain. At the same time, we're hearing about, all these farmers that are having to euthanize piglets and kill off the chicks and plow perfectly good vegetables back into the soil. There is something seriously wrong with that. And I'm starting to wonder if the food industry is trying to artificially create shortages to boost prices.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility as well. And I guess I was asking about the disinfectant because, 2 days later, all on social media, all these companies and all this research was coming out about, ultraviolet, intravenous technology, and all these companies and research has been happening for decades. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe it was like a semantical error on Trump's part. He didn't really know he didn't know how to articulate what he was saying exactly. I think when he meant disinfectant, I think he meant that the ultraviolet light was disinfecting via, those waves.
Well, if you think about it,
or whatever.
If you think about it, penicillin is a disinfectant. It's killing the infections.
Right.
The same thing with any antibiotic is a disinfectant. But his words were taken and twisted to try and damage him.
And I'll end with this. The scary part about that is it makes the other things he's been talking about, like the hydroxychloroquine, it makes people who already are dismissive of him dismiss those things that we know are working. So that's the other part about this that's really unfortunate. But that's my comment.
Well, there's a huge war going on with the pharmaceutical industries. They want to have a high markup, high profit, very expensive vaccine that they can sell you year after year after year after year. The last thing they want is an inexpensive chemical that cures the disease outright, because even Goldman Sachs says that's a bad business model. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to take a break for commercials. Back with the last segment of our program, and Tom in Florida is on the line. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today. We're going to go back to the phones to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome back. What's on your mind?
Good day to you, Michael. You know, I usually I never call back a second time, but hearing that guy Paul, and he had that one guy say, well, yeah, that guy's a shrill. I believe that's the shrill right there. But you know, that one guy's talking about your callers are shrills. Unbelievable what's going on here today. But this guy Paul knocking Southern gentlemen, Southern states, red states, whatever you want to call it. By the way, Paul, the clothes you got on your back was by a Southern gentleman named called Eli Whitney. You ever hear of the cotton gin, Paul? Okay, and a lot of other great Southern men. Okay, most of the men who went to World War I and World War II came out of the South, not the North, Paul. Okay, so you know, by bashing the red states and all that, it's nonsensical. The guys, like I said, it's an nincompoop stuff that comes out of these blue staters. And you know, we're hearing this. Look, I'm not. Let me straighten out Paul on something. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Paul. What does that make me, Paul? I'm a Northern, ain't I, Paul? Okay? I'm in a state, I was born in Wisconsin. What do you want to talk about, Paul? Now, Paul wants to talk bash about Republicans and red state people. Did you see a word he was throwing out at all of us, Michael? The R word? Why couldn't he use like a different word than that? You know what I mean? Like autism. We all have autism or something. He has to throw the R word out there? Seriously? That's like Miles, a great call. Like Miles said, John Stadler don't even call his show. The guy's a nincompoop. And him, Dustin, you know, they're always bashing Trump. But hey, keep staying in your states. We don't want you down in Florida. Please don't come to Florida. I'm begging you. Do not come to Florida. Stay in your New Jersey if you love it so much. And you've been to bash Florida as a bad state. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, Michael. The guy making a call like that and throwing out accusations about a whole group of people. I just don't understand it, you know? And, yeah, we have red states, we have blue states, we all have our opinion. Everybody's opinionated. That's why people call your show. They give out their opinion, and hopefully they get to the truth about what's going on in our country. Okay, and if you want a guy like Joe Biden, Paul, by all means, vote for him. If you want a leftist Democrat that wants to flood the country, then you vote for him. But here, you know, every day about how bad Trump is and this and that, who do you want? Who do you want, Paul? Tell us who you want for president, Paul. Who do you really want, Paul? Who do you want for president? That's what I'd like to know. Who does he want? Right now, like Miles said, we have an alternative. It's Donald Trump, and that's the only guy I can see could be standing in office as president. You want Tulsi Gabbard? But she didn't win, so they're not going to vote for her on a third ballot. But right now, you got the cases. You got Joe Biden and some woman he's going to pick against Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Do I think Pence? I don't know if he's good vice president. I don't know, but I know right now the alternative is Donald Trump. If not, have the Supreme Court go total left and have the immigration rampant. Get 50 million in here. As far as the one guy was right, Gates, Soros, and all these other criminals, they definitely should be locked up for the activities they're pulling on this country. It's nonsensical, Michael. Nonsensical. But to have that guy call in and call a whole bunch of people the R word is disgusting. Okay? I don't throw that out on anybody. I would never do that. It's disgraceful. And the one guy said he's a shrill. Yeah, there's a lot of shrills. I'm not one. I'm just calling like it is. A red-blooded American who loves my country. I like to voice my opinion. With a gun, you're a citizen. Without a gun, you're a subject. Get it? Got it? Hope you get it. God bless the free republic. Thank you, Mike, for taking my call. Very much.
Got to let you go. We're at the end of the program here. And by the way, looking at the email, Paul did not make himself any fans with that phone call of his. The email is overwhelmingly negative. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.